So I'm here actually to give a couple of examples to where we have been working very closely with the Indian colleagues. But before I do this, I'm just going to have a couple of slides where I highlight Wellcome's strategy when it comes to drug-resistant infection. So it was very clear to us that to tackle the problem of AMR, we needed to look at a different way where we can support some of our activities. Our strategy of drug-resistant infection as a priority program was launched at Wellcome Trust. And it's a very new way of looking at the problem where you are not only working from a bottom-up research perspective, but very much in a very targeted manner to look at what is the interface between science and policy. And this is a new way for Wellcome to be working. And as such, we have committed for the next 5 years 175 million, where we can actually have a whole team looking at the problem of AMR and bringing science and policy in all of our activity. This is very much to complement and support the existing investment that Wellcome has across the rest of the organization. Area where we felt that there is a need for us to put more effort and in a very targeted approach was very much to look at the evidence base that will inform decision making. And this is at the heart of it. It's the data that was mentioned yesterday. There was a lot of talk about what's the data that's already there and how much of a confidence we have in that data in order to develop intervention and to inform the policymaker of how they can actually make these decisions. But similarly, the loop, which is to bring what the policymaker needs and how that will influence some of the research and scientific priorities that we have. Under this pillar, there's very much access to data from, of course, to complement the GLASS platform in surveillance. There's data from private and public sector, so some of the research organizations as well as the pharmaceutical companies. Another pillar where we thought there is a need for us to invest and put a lot of our effort is very much into new therapeutic and diagnostics. And I'll be mentioning the case study for CARB-X and the close relationship with India. But in addition to supporting some of these, what we call push incentive, we thought that there is as well a need to look at diagnostic and those technology that's already out there, what actually are the challenges of implementing them into our healthcare system. Of course, when it comes to developing therapeutic and diagnostic, a more efficient and effective clinical trial will be really crucial, and we're starting our activity in that area. And the fourth, last but not least pillar is very much global governance and advocacy, and Wellcome Trust, being independent as an entity, is able to play a very active role when it comes to the international arena, trying to make sure that AMR is not forgotten from some of the policy and political discussion. And as I mentioned, policy and advocacy is really running across all the activity that we are doing. So this is very much to just articulate some of our near-term goals, which are the pillars that I have just mentioned, but as well to make sure that when we're talking about AMR, it's not really dissociated from actually infection prevention and treatment. So what we would like to see on the long term is really to have a paradigm shift in preventing and treating infection, a very controlled, coordinated international response to making our healthcare system very resilient when it comes to the threat of drug-resistant infection, and above all, to have a public mandate for change. The first example I want to touch upon, which is CARB-X. CARB-X is, and I'm here representing Kevin Outterson, who couldn't make it to the meeting. It's a non-profit partnership, which is very much to accelerate the therapeutic and diagnostic development. The partners on this are the US government, Wellcome Trust, the UK government, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and soon to be the German government. In addition to this, there are a set of partners who make sure that some of these small and medium enterprises that are coming to our side are supported throughout their path of drug development. And these are mentioned at the bottom of the slides. So CARB-X investment is more than $550 million. And It is, as I said, a partnership where the money is a non-dilutive funding. So the money goes to the company and nothing is expected in return. However, it's very much to accelerate the early development of antibiotic diagnostic as well as vaccine and other products. The pathogen list that we are interested in are the ones on the WHO and the CDC list. And it's very much aware of the need to supplement some of the work of CARB-X is to have a very good sustainable economic model, which CARB-X as well is very aware and trying to work very closely with the product developer. So throughout the last couple of years, we've had some interest when it comes to companies coming from India. We've had 28 expression of interest, though only one company out of these have been supported. And I want to just talk a couple of minutes on Bugworks. Bugworks, which is one of the companies supported by CARB-X, it has an initial investment of 2.6 million with potential of option payment up to 5.1 million. What CARB-X has facilitated for a company like Bugworks is a platform to raise the profile of the work that the Indian colleagues are doing, whether it is on scientific conferences such as Hamied, and others, but as well in some of the policy discussion and some of the political agenda where we have presented Bugworks as one of our companies. In addition, Bugworks have been able to raise a lot of capital out of its original investment in CARB-X. However, we do want to see more companies succeeding when it comes to India because we're very aware that there is a wealth of knowledge and innovation that's already there. So we're really thrilled that the Center for Cellular and Molecular Platform, CCAM, had joined the CARB-X family as one of the accelerator, providing a lot of the support for these companies that are ready to apply for CARB-X but needs a lot of guidance and support. So what does CCAM provide? It provides business, technical, and scientific support to some of these potential projects. And it is very much located in India. It has almost like an incubator where a company can come and spend some time to develop their business model. And this was announced in September 2018. In addition, CARB-X is about to sign a memorandum of understanding in March 2019. And this is with DPT to make sure to raise the flag of the need for supporting a lot of these companies in India, whether the support is financial, but as well in a lot of the technical and innovation, and to make sure that that interaction is much stronger between CARB-X as an entity and the companies that are within India. Another example that I'd like to highlight here, and I would look to actually Shahid for this knowledge because you're leading on this activity. Although it's not specific to antimicrobial resistance, it's a good example that maybe the organizer can take forward when we're talking about working closely between India and a funder like the Wellcome Trust. And that's the Wellcome Trust DBT India Alliance. This is a partnership between the Wellcome Trust and DBT. It's 160 million so far. It's been established since 2008, so it's coming to its 11th year, and there is appetite for it to move for another 5 years at least, so we'll mention this. It is very much to support a lot of the fellows, early, medium, and senior career fellows, and provide them with a good ecosystem so that they can thrive and become competitive at a global level. There are different funding rounds where it's supporting basic, clinical, veterinary, but as well a lot of the new researchers that are ready to set up their own lab and become leaders in the field. The mission is very much, as I said, to empower the researcher, bridge the gap, which I think is very important because when we are training researchers, is to provide them as well with a lot of the soft skill that they would need when they are becoming independent and strive for excellence. This is just a summary of how many fellows have been supported so far, 348 fellows with a good demand from around 3,500 so far. So a relatively good success rate, and it's quite spread across different stages of the fellowship. But it's very important to highlight that the impact of these fellowships is quite high. When looking here as an example of some of the publication that these fellows have been able to deliver, it's really good to see that the Alliance has provided a really good platform for them to be as competitive globally, if not better than other national fellowships. And as I mentioned, funding is planned for the next 5 years, where DBT has had so much commitment to it that it's doubling its investment and is very keen to provide that support for another 5 years. So what's happening next? I believe Shahid will be able to give you more of this insight. However, from a Wellcome's perspective, we're really keen for this to be continuing. It has proven to be quite successful so far. It's nice to have some of these fellows based in India, where actually all the grants decision and management is happening in Hyderabad and with another office in Delhi, so it's very much owned by the Indian colleagues. But in addition, it's a good time to reflect on some of these fellowships and see how we can even up the game more. And I can see that when we talk about team science, and this is where multidisciplinary approach, solving some of the healthcare challenges, there is no harm in considering AMR and drug-resistant infection and one of those potential in the future. But as well as, when we are strengthening clinical research, AMR could be one of those challenges that could be taken forward. And I'll leave you here with some of the contact from the different example I mentioned.